All right. Well, it is 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, so as promised, we will get started. Appreciate everybody being on. Just a couple housekeeping items. Everybody is on mute, but feel free to post any comments, any questions in the chat. Um, after the webinar is over, we'll make the recording available to everybody here, and we'll make sure we send it out to you probably late next week. My name's Jaron Kleber. I'm the National Sales Manager for Repair Shop Tomorrow, and our webinar tonight, we're going to talk about how to help you all drive profits through your service counter. So just a brief overview of who we are at Repair Shop Tomorrow. Some of you may have joined us last month for the webinar we did on driving profits through the labor side of your business. So this may be a little repetitive, but for those of you that don't know who we are, here's just a little background. So our company was founded in 2015 by Dave Justice, who is been an industry leader with over 35 years of experience in the automotive aftermarket. Like many of you, Dave was a Napa Auto Care Center owner. Um, at his peak, he had 3 auto care centers in Cleveland, Ohio. Dave also was the creator of the labor profit management software. And Dave actually created that product to help his shop measure his technicians' productivity, efficiency, and effective labor rate, among other things. And was pretty successful with that. Some of you may have been using that product or saw Dave speak, but fast forward until really kind of the end of last year, beginning of this year, we got the honor of being chosen as Napa Auto Care's only endorsed coaching and marketing company, and that's a distinction that we're really proud of at Repair Shop of Tomorrow. Our program is a little unique. It's built by shop owners for shop owners, and one thing that I always tell our clients or prospective clients is about our coaches. Our coaches are current shop owners, just like you all, and they're also clients of the program. So we think that makes us a little unique. We feel like our coaches have a really good pulse of what's going on in the automotive aftermarket because they're still living and breathing it every single day. So that's just a brief history overview of who we are. So let's talk about what we're here tonight to discuss. So, in my opinion, in an automotive shop, there's no single employee that has more effect on your profitability as an owner than your service advisor or your manager. So that's kind of the overall theme that we're looking at in tonight's webinar. So what we're going to talk about is the first thing is systems and operations and procedures. All of us in the industry like to refer to these as SOPs. We're going to look at how to help you create a standard system that all your employees follow, and of course, more importantly, succeed in. We'll really kind of dive into to shop flow, repair order workflow, and then focus heavily on the 300% rule, which some of you may or may not be familiar with. Then we're going to move into explaining the why it matters to your customer and help give you and your service advisors maybe some sales skills to help you be better prepared at the service counter. And then last thing we're going to talk about is how to utilize your shop management system to drive profits and to make profitable repair orders. If you think about it, your service advisor is basically living and breathing in that shop management software. So it's super important that they know how to use it effectively, and more importantly, that it's set up correctly so it allows them to succeed. So let's get into our systems, operations, and procedures. So, SOPs, right? Why do we have them? Well, if you think about it, a successful business needs committed workers who can complete procedures consistently and accurately. Okay, so what are SOPs? Well, SOPs are what you as a shop owner believe to be the most efficient and most effective way to complete the job at hand. What can they help you with? Well, your SOPs can help your business have predictable end results and something that can be repeated again and again. And they also help your business maintain the quality and consistency of your service. So if you're reading this screen and you're looking at it, what I talk about when I talk about SOPs is we need to create systems, operations, and procedures. We need to make them repeatable and consistent so that everyone on your team can achieve the results that you want them to achieve as a shop owner. So the big thing when you're talking SOPs, the first thing we got to talk about is shop flow, repair order workflow. A lot of our clients that we deal with, the first thing they talk about when we sit down and we have a meeting with them is how do I put these procedures in place, right? I've got one guy that's doing it this way, one guy that's doing it this way. There's no consistency. And like I just said, right, SOPs are going to help us create consistent and repeatable processes that everybody knows how to do and when to do it so that you can achieve the results you would like to achieve. So there's really 10 steps that I want to go through here in regards to repair order workflow or shop flow as it relates to your service advisors. Now, some of these steps kind of cross into your technicians, but as shop owners, as service advisors, I think you all know that the front and the back of the house really need to be on the same page and they need to be working together. So the first thing we look at is that initial write up or initial customer greeting. And I want you to put yourself in the consumer's shoes for a second and maybe think about what does that experience look like for your clients when they walk through the door. I'm sure a lot of you have been in either shops or any type of business where you walk in and someone's standing at the counter, they don't pick their head up, and they're almost treating you like a nuisance, right? Like you're there to spend money and to do business with them, but they don't even seem to care or really take the time to greet you or appreciate that you came in through the door. I've seen this in shops and businesses all across the country during my travel, and it really just starts that whole customer experience out very negatively. Um, so during the initial write up and the customer greeting, I want you to think about, we've got one mouth and two ears. That's the way that we were made. So let's actually listen to what it is our customers, our potential customers are telling us, so that we make sure their needs are met. I'm sure this has happened to some of you on this webinar, but you're busy. You've got, you're writing up a repair order, you're ordering parts, you're assigning a different job, and Mrs. Jones comes in and she tells you everything she needs with her car, and you're really not listening. You've got other things going on, right? You're putting out fires. Mrs. Jones leaves, you look at her keys, and all of a sudden you think to yourself, wow, what did she come in here for? I know this has happened in your shop and I've seen it happen in other shops. So I think you guys can see where I'm going with this. So there's no worse phone call to make than to call a customer who is just in there and ask them, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't get all your information correctly. What is it that we're actually doing on your vehicle today? All right. The second thing is, if you have some type of scheduling process or rewards program, some of our clients like to highlight on a whiteboard that the customers that are coming in for the day. The main thing we're trying to achieve with that is make the customers feel appreciated and to give them that A+ experience because they have a lot of choices when it comes to automobile repair, and most of them are coming in because they need something, their car is broken. They're not necessarily coming in because they want to. Not too many people show up to your shop and want to spend a bunch of money. They're there because there's a need. So we got to make sure that we're doing this first step correctly every single time. The second thing, your technician assignment. So when it comes to workflow, what are we talking about when we talk about your technician assignment? Well, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're using either a scheduler inside your shop management software, or even if you're using a paper scheduler still, make sure you know who has available hours left in the day. And then, of course, make sure you're assigning the jobs based on your technician's skill level. You wouldn't want to give your C-Tech a an A-level diagnostic, right? Because you're setting them up to fail. So just make sure, again, your service advisors, you're assigning your technicians, you're looking at their available hours, and you're setting them to work appropriately. So that's kind of from the front of the house. Now we move a little bit to the back of the house. All right, we talk about the service and or the inspection. We're going to talk heavily about the 300% rule as it relates to a digital vehicle inspection. But once that technician gets that repair order sent to their tablet, hopefully everyone on this call is using a DVI. We're asking that technician to do a full inspection, and we're paying that technician in most cases to do that inspection, because we want it to be done properly, right? So we're saying 20 pictures, videos, first off, walk around the car, front, side, back, take a picture of the dash. These are all things that, as shop owners, you can imagine the phone calls that your service advisors get, or service advisors, you get these phone calls where, that scratch wasn't there when you brought it in, or that my check engine light wasn't on. So it's important that everybody knows what that process is and that everybody's following it on a consistent basis. So now we're going to come back to the front of the house when it comes to the estimation. As a service advisor, let's make sure that we are estimating everything that our technician found. Okay. And when we're doing this estimating, let's make sure we're looking at parts availability, we're looking at our schedule, so that when we get to step 5 and we're presenting the customer with the findings, we have all the necessary information we need. We certainly don't want to get Mrs. Jones to approve $2,000 worth of work, and then we skip this step in step 4 and we didn't look up the parts from an availability standpoint, and now we realize we can't get that power steering rack until Thursday and it's Tuesday. All right, so be prepared and make sure you're following these steps in order. Moving on, parts ordering and scheduling. So we talk about workflow. How do we improve efficiencies in our shops? Well, we need proper workflow. So if you think back to step 4, when we're building the estimate and we're looking for the parts availability, and then we present it to the customer, all right, let's make sure we're ordering those parts and we're scheduling that job appropriately. Really what we're trying to do here is we're trying to stay in front of our technicians. Efficiency and productivity are numbers that, of course, we talked about on the last webinar, and they're very important numbers for you as a shop owner. And really, if you think about how can you increase those numbers, well, if Jimmy comes in to work on Thursday and Mrs. Jones's car is on the lot and all the parts needed to do that job are sitting there in the bay waiting for him, and he doesn't have to wait on parts, he doesn't have to wait on approval, think about how much more efficient and productive that technician will be. Step 7, repair services. This is kind of a no-brainer, right? What I talk about here and what we teach on our processes is make sure the communication is open between the service advisor and the technician. Everything that the service advisor sold got approved. Let's make sure we're communicating that with our technician. Now, some of your DVIs have the chat feature where you can chat back and forth. I'm a big fan of that, but I'm also a big fan of still having one-on-one communication. So making sure that everybody's on the same page. And then, of course, from the technician standpoint, making sure that whatever was approved by the customer is actually being performed and completed in a timely fashion. Number 8, quality inspection. Hopefully you guys have a process set in place where you are either doing a test drive, or you have a shop foreman or someone inspecting the work after it's completed. Again, customers have a lot of choices when it comes to automotive repair, and do we really want them leaving with something not being done correctly and then coming back 10 minutes later? I used to work with Napa Tracks, and I spent a lot of times in shops setting up and training on how to use the software. And I could tell you how many times somebody would leave and they'd come right back because the check engine light was on, or I asked you to do this and it's not done. That's just laziness. That's just not professional. And unfortunately, that stuff can happen when you don't have a set of procedures in place that everybody's following and that is consistent and repeatable. Okay. Number 9, organization. This is a big one for me. Again, this comes back up to the service advisors. You know, if you're a service advisor on this webinar, I do sympathize with you. You have a very high stress, fast paced job. You got a lot of stuff thrown at you, especially at the end of the day, and people want their vehicles and they want them, yesterday. So, you know, organization though is key. How many times, and again, I'm asking you to put yourself in maybe your own shop. How many times have you got to the end of the day, Mrs. Jones comes in, you're printing off her invoice, and she pays and she signs, and then all of a sudden she's looking at you, and you're like, Yes, can I help you? Where's my keys? Oh, and now you're starting to fumble and look for the keys. Then you find the keys, and you're like, Where's my car? Well, I don't know. It's parked out there. It's your car. You know what it looks like. Go find it. Um, you may be kind of chuckling to yourself, but uh, we've seen this. I've seen this happen, multiple times. So if you have the ability to, back in the car, in the space, have a copy of the repair order, maybe have a little thank you note, maybe some cookies, whatever. Some of our clients do things like that. But be organized and have that ready so that when they come in and you're ready to invoice that customer, they're getting a smooth experience. When they're in when you're invoicing it, you have to be kind of a little bit of a chameleon as a service advisor. Some people want every little bit of detail, and you have to go down and explain everything to them. And other people like me, I want my invoice, I want my stuff, and I want to get out of the shop. Okay, so you gotta be a little bit of a people reader there when it comes to invoicing. But thank them for their business, recognize that they have choices, and then again, explain the services that you performed. And then if there's anything that was recommended that wasn't done, take a chance to explain that to them, and possibly get them set up to come back to get those services done. So that was our 10-step shop flow that um, I teach I've taught to our clients, and spent an hour going through that. So of course, for the sake of time and for our webinar, we're moving fast. Um, but I just hope that you guys can see, um, putting those processes in place, having the service advisor, having the technician, have that nonverbal communication where everybody knows what each other is supposed to do, can really help your efficiency and your productivity. And again, drive sales, and more importantly, drive more profits through your service account. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about digital vehicle inspection. So in my opinion, your digital vehicle inspection process should be centered around what we like to call full disclosure. I'll go as far and say I think it's our responsibility, or your responsibility as a business owner, to tell your client, everything that you found that is wrong on their vehicle, and let them make the decision. It just bothers me when I see, people not doing a full disclosure, a full inspection, because, this customer can't afford it, right? The last thing you want is for that vehicle to be in your shop, then leave. It always happens this way. They go to Walmart, they go to wherever, grocery store, they're buying little Jimmy his ice cream cake for his birthday. They get out to the car, it's 95 degrees, and now the car won't start. And it was just in your shop. But it only came in for an oil change. You didn't want to tell them that they needed a new battery. All right. Full disclosure does not mean we are telling them they need stuff that they don't need. We are letting them make the decision. We are simply just presenting the information to them. So one thing I'd like you to think about is how can you focus on shifting your shop to a more proactive maintenance style shop versus a reactive, we only fix what is broken type of shop. Um, Typically, if we have a customer, a good customer, and we have them on a maintenance style repair plan, call it, right? Those are long term, profitable, and loyal customers. All right. Those are the customers you want to have. It's okay to say no every once in a while. And typically, fixing what is broken is more expensive than having a uh, maintenance style repair shop. So how do we do that? We do that through creating a standard DVI process that all your employees follow every single time. I'm going to say it 1,000 times probably during this webinar. We need our SOPs to be repeatable and consistent so that you as a shop owner can achieve the results that you're trying to achieve. So let's talk about our 300% rule, okay? Some of you have probably heard this. Some of you that have seen me speak or talk to me on the phone or whatever in person have heard me talk about this, and maybe through a different company you've heard something similar. But this goes back to having full disclosure on our digital vehicle inspection. So the first 100% of the 300% rule is that 100% of the vehicles that come through your shop are inspected using your DVI. All right. And we're looking for a minimum of 20 high quality pictures and videos. Okay. The more documentation that you have, the higher consumer trust you will gain. I read an article the other day that was published by US News and World Report about the most untrusted businesses in America. Um, Unfortunately, automotive repair shops was the second most untrusted business. Third was at used car dealers. So they're saying we're more untrustworthy in the public's eyes than used car dealers. But number one was politicians. And I won't get into a political discussion here, but think about that. If consumers are coming into your shop and in their mindset, they already don't trust you, how do you expect them to trust you if you're just simply calling them on the phone and telling them this is what you need for your car? I can promise you, especially now more than ever, that is not a recipe for success. Doing digital inspection and doing it on every car that comes in, that is how we build a profitable repair business. The second 100% of the 300% rule. 100% of the findings are estimated and priced out using your shop management software. When we're doing this, we certainly want to review any previous recommendations or any warranty work. Like I said earlier, we want to check our parts and availability, but we also want to group our components together and be prepared to sell systems. So when we call Mrs. Jones on the phone, we have a process and it's easy for her to follow. So I'm going to pick on our service advisors right now. Are you estimating 100% of the time everything that the technician finds and tells you is wrong with the vehicle? And if you are, congratulations. I would say you are one of the few. Um, you know, it's very important that we are not putting our hands in the customer's pocket or wallet and making the decision for them. Okay. We need to be able to have full disclosure with our clients and lay out everything that their vehicle needs. Okay. And estimate it and price it out. Like I said, I think it's kind of our duty, our responsibility to do so. They're coming to you because they trust you, or maybe they don't trust you, depending on this report. But you're the professional, so we need to act like it. The last 100% of the 300% rule is what what is estimated and priced out is presented to the customer, and we present it in this form and fashion: what the car came in for, any safety needs, and then any preventative maintenance. All right. Again, our purpose by doing this is to help build value and build a maintenance program for your clients' vehicles. So a lot of you have had some really good success the last 18 to 24 months. A lot of people I talk to have had records, and car counts are through the roof. And if car counts go up, sales go up, right? But I'm already starting to see. I was on the road the last couple weeks, and I was in shops, and I was already starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. And so, you know, I want you to think of this. You know, don't be the processing plant. Don't just process as many cars as you can a day. First of all, your technicians probably aren't going to like it because you're going to beat them down. And then they're going to turn around at the end of the day and look in the parking lot and see 30 more cars available for work, right? Um, so let's slow down, focus on your digital vehicle inspection, and work on less cars, but make more money because we're driving higher average repair orders. To me, that's the definition of working smarter and not harder. So I've came up with just 5 mistakes that I see our service advisors making at the service counter. And so the first thing is talk more than you listen. All right. Just like I said earlier, uh, you know, each client deserves our attention, and we need to make sure we're listening to them. Okay. Take good notes, listen to them, because you don't want to make that mistake of you being the one leading the conversation, and then really not gathering the information you need for that client's vehicle. The second mistake: divulging the price too early. I'll go back to when I was, training shop owners on Napa tracks, and when I say that, I spent 2 full days at the counter with these people, so I got to see, customers come in and their interaction, on a, you know, minute by minute basis, and Mrs. Jones comes in, and she's, talking about her water pump, and somebody else priced it out, and this is what they told her they need, and you're like, yeah, that's going to be like $1,000. That's really expensive. Yeah, that's going to cost you a lot of money. What did we just do there? Right? We just we didn't bring any value. We've got to talk about the value that we have before we even get to price, right? I'll go as far and say is price is not really price normally isn't a deterrent unless there's an absence of value. So on this scale, if the value's here, the price is normally here. And if there is no value, then price rises to the top. Okay, so um, again, divulging the price too early is a common mistake that I see, and really a lot of times as a service advisor, you're just shooting from the hip. Yeah, it's going to be about $1,000. Well, is it? Do you know exactly how much Mitchell Labor Guide calls for that vehicle? Do you know that's exactly what they need? So don't get into that, right? You're going to do your DVI, explain to them, build the value of what you do in your shop, without just spitting the price out. Number 3, don't customize the presentation. Now, I could have some pushback here because, I'm talking about creating standard procedures that can be consistent and repeatable. But that doesn't mean you can't customize the presentation. So what do I mean by that? Know your customers. A lot of you see these customers, 2, 3 times a year. So do you really take the time to get to know them? Mrs. Jones, she told me the last time she was in that her father had passed away, and he left her this car. Okay. Now she's back with that car. Okay. So Mrs. Jones, we understand that this vehicle was your father's and it means a lot to you. So let me walk you through what we found so that we can get this vehicle put back together for you so that it's safe and that you can continue to drive it and keep your father's legacy alive, right? Now, that may seem a little extreme, but that is the type of interaction the clients are looking for, especially our younger generation, millennials, Gen Zs, so forth and so on. This one bothers me. Don't speak confidently or enthusiastically. You're the professional. I don't care if you have to get up in the morning and look at the mirror and say, I'm the best, and nobody's better at their job than I am. If you're not confident or you're not enthusiastic about what it is that you're doing and how you're presenting it to the customer's going to pick up on that right away. And if you don't have confidence in what you're telling them, how are they supposed to have confidence in it? Okay. So you're the professional, act like the professional, be prepared, know your processes and stick to them, and be enthusiastic about what it is that you're doing. And then lastly, the biggest mistake is we don't follow the processes that are set in place. Okay, if we don't follow the processes that are set in place, um, you know, fail to plan is a plan to fail. Okay, so remember what our processes are, remember what they are in your shop, and make sure that you're following them so that you can achieve those results that you're looking for. So now I'm going to just kind of give you guys a little bit of information. Just work with me here. I'm going to throw some numbers out here, and then I'm gonna tie it all together. But explaining the why it matters that you get your vehicle fixed. So look, customers today are more connected than they've ever been before. I think we can. I think everybody understands that. Um, they have a overload of information at their fingertips and they think that they're the expert and this is how it should be done. Here's some very scary statistics. The average millennial now spends 8 hours a day on their phone. Okay, so think about that, 8 hours a day on their phone. So they are being fed information. They're looking for information about what this should cost and is this worth it to repair, so forth and so on. But baby boomers, you're not much better. The average baby boomer spends 5 hours a day on their phone. Okay, again, lots of information overload. So they're looking to you, right? Because they've done their research a little bit and they're trying to think, okay, why should I keep this vehicle? It's 8 years old. Why should I continue to put service and do the things you're telling me to do? So just pulled these numbers last week. The average car payment in the United States now is $648. If we amortize that over 72 months, that's roughly $50,000 um, in a car payment. Okay, most people's second biggest investment in their life is their car, right? So the average car payment is $648. But check this out, that's up 12% from the previous year. All right, so um, obviously, people are paying more for cars, whether they're new or they're used cars, and we're seeing those car payments increase. Now let's look at the average interest rate for a car. So new car, 4.33%. That might not seem too bad, right? You know, that might be because nobody can get new cars. So that interest rate might be a little bit lower because of that. We work with some dealerships, not through our coaching program. We just have some relationships, some of our clients with some owners, and their manufacturer reps are telling them it's going to be 18 months before lots are full again for their car dealerships. All right. So again, keep sticking with me here. I'm working to it. But look at the average interest rate for a used car, 8.62%. Now, You may say, wow, that's crazy, Jaron. Well, of course, that's taking in our best 800 credit scores and our subprime 400 credit scores, right? But overall, that's the average, 8.62%. So I'm arming you with this information, right? Because this is why it matters, and this is why we can explain why they should fix their car. Hopefully, you all are taking advantage of the Napa Easy Pay consumer financing program through Synchrony, which allows for 6 months, 12 months, 0% interest. So Mrs. Jones comes in, it's her father's car that he's passed away, he's given it to her, and we're telling her she needs $2,400 worth of work. Now I have to explain the why that matters. This is when I can go in and talk about, look, Mrs. Jones, here's everything that we did. We did our inspection. Here's everything that's good with your car, right? Because we always want to lead with what's good. We don't want to just tell everybody their baby's ugly and call it a piece of crap. We want to talk about here's what's good with your vehicle. But here's some things. Here's what you came in for. And then we do our 300% rule. We talk about the safety needs and we talk about the preventative maintenance. We're building this plan together for your car because we know it means something to you and you want to keep this, right? If we look at the average car payment in the United States today, Mrs. Jones, it's coming up on $650, and the interest rates are anywhere from 4 to 8%. All right. Um, if you went and looked at a new car, you probably realized that you're going to pay about $15,000 to $20,000 over MSRP right now because supply and demand, right? Uh, the supply is low, the demand is high, the price is rose. So what we're offering today is to fix your vehicle, make it safe, make it reliable so that you can continue to drive it. And the total repair is $2,400. But we went ahead and ran a soft pre-approval, and we've got you pre-approved for 6 months or 12 months, 0% interest on that $2,400 repair bill. So for as low as $200 a month, we can fix everything with your car and we can make sure it's safe and reliable for you to drive and continue to drive in the future. How would that be? And that's where we stop, right? The first one that talks loses. That's a sales thing, right? But this is what we have to do. Consumers are getting this information that we're not trustworthy and that we're trying to get one over on them. We simply just have to explain it to them in a nature that makes sense. And I believe everybody knows what's going on in the world. That you see the car shortage, you see all the inflation and everything going up. Explain to them why it matters, how you're going to put this program together for them, and how you're going to keep their vehicle running so that they have a safe and reliable means of transportation. All right. So this is just kind of a recap on sharpening your skills. The first one is build rapport and connect with your potential buyer. Um, didn't really kind of skipped over that a little bit in the DBI process, but people still buy from people. All right, so it goes back to knowing your clients, and we are in the relationship business 100%. And so having that ability to connect with your potential buyer um, will go a long way in helping you be more successful and sell more services. Customize the presentation for each client, just like we talked about. Make sure you're getting the proper information at check-in and understand the customer's vehicle and the situation that they're in. And then lastly, remember full disclosure on every client using the 300% rule in our DVI. And at the end of our 300% rule, when we're presenting it to the customer, we always present it in this form and fashion: what the car came in for, any safety needs, and then preventative maintenance. All right. So let's talk about driving profits through the shop management software. Some of you have heard me speak with Trax, or maybe at Expo, or at a meeting. I still believe the most important tool in your shop is your shop management software. If you think about it, especially as a service advisor, you're living and breathing inside of the SMS. It's literally touching every client that comes in. It's managing your profitability. It's managing your inventory. It's managing your customer database, right? It's how you look up parts. It's how you look up labor. So we need to make sure we're utilizing it to its highest capability so that you can achieve greater sales, and greater profits through the service counter. So last month's webinar, we talked about labor. And one of the things we talked about is loaded technicians, technicians loaded cost. All right. Um, if you're interested, you'll see my email at the end. Shoot me an email. If you didn't get the webinar last month on labor, I can send it to you, no problem. It just let us know. But making sure your technician's loaded cost is in your shop management system. Why is that important? Well, obviously we want to know what profit we're making on our labor, but from a service advisor standpoint, think about this. If you may be handcuffing them, the service advisor, they might think they're hitting their goals because you don't have the cost loaded in correctly. So they're going to look at the estimate when they're building it out and before they present it to the customer, and they see that, wow, I hit my profit goals, so I'm okay. But then what happens is you don't have the cost loaded in, right? You grab your reports, you start doing payroll, you look at your P&L, your labor profit percentage is way down. Now you come and yell at the service advisor. Well, hey boss, look at the shop management system, look at the reports. I mean, I made every goal that you said you wanted me to make. All right. So it's very, very important we have our technicians in there for cost, but we have them in there as loaded. I prefer to err on the side of caution. What do I mean by that? Well, I take a look at my highest paid guy, all right, and what his loaded cost is. And then I go into my shop management software and I actually put that figure for each one of my technicians. And the reason I do that, again, is to err on the side of caution. Worst case scenario. Um, if I have my highest paid guy assigned to this, I know I'm still hitting my profit goals, I'm good. But if maybe my B or my C level tech is in there, right? Now I'm erring on the side of caution, okay? Because now I see, look, this is where I'm at. I've got the profit dollars that I need to make. Um, if you don't want to go through and figure it out, which I would encourage you to do, the industry average says if you take the person's salary and you times it by 1.4, you'll get a pretty close number for loaded cost. We like to work with our clients. We have a tech loaded cost worksheet that we step through and we show them everything, and then we decide what gross profit we want to make, and it tells us what labor rate to charge. But again, if you're just looking for kind of a simplistic view, take the highest paid guy's salary, times it by 1.4, take that and put it in your shop management system. The last thing here is on the text cost. It's never going to match your payroll 100%, but the goal is to get it as close as possible. Whether it's NapaTrax or any other shop management system, from a productivity or profitability standpoint, it's not looking at when they're waiting on parts, when they're going on a test drive, um, when you had your team meetings, and when they weren't working on vehicles, right? It's only looking at that technician's cost versus what he built. All right. So again, you're still going to have to do your payroll. It's not going to match 100%, but the goal is to get it as close as possible. Make sure you're setting your gross profit targets inside of your shop management system. We want to look at the total profit we want to make on our work order, profit we want to make on parts, labors, tires, etc. Okay. Obviously, if you're a service advisor and you're on this call, make sure you get with your owner and make sure that they're doing this. If you're an owner, make sure you go in tomorrow and you're making sure that everything's correct. Lastly, if you're a service advisor, ensure that estimate is profitable before you call the customer. And if that estimate isn't meeting the goals of the shop, then you need to stop and analyze it so that you can fix it. All right. Now, here's how the profitability screen looks inside of NapaTrax. I'm sure your system, whatever you're using, has some sort of screen like this, whether it's graphical or not. But you can see here, if I'm a service advisor and I'm building this ticket out, I can look and say that I'm 60% is my target on my work order. I'm at 66. I'm at 82% on my labor. Oh, I'm only at 49% on my parts. In Trax, It highlights that for you in a little red box and flashes at you to let you know you need to make an adjustment. Now, this may be a ticket with some commodities or whatever the case may be on it. So you still may be okay. Um, but you need to be looking at this as a service advisor. If you're incentivized on gross sales and net profit, it's really important to be looking at this because this is how you can get your incentives paid. Um, and again, if you're an owner, let's make sure we have these goals set. Goes back to those processes so that your service advisors are looking at this. It's easy, it's repeatable, and it's consistent, and they're making sure that they hit the goals that you want them to achieve. So the last thing on the SMS, I just want to touch on a few things. So let's talk a little bit about how to handle the unsold work in your shop management software. So hopefully you all are using a CRM program, and you're utilizing the software to make recommended services so that those CRMs can pick them up and then send them out of reminders. Napa Auto Care works with a couple different CRM companies. Our friends at Kukui do a great job at this. But at the end of the day, if you're not using a CRM, you really need to look at that, go back and investigate which company is going to work for you, because it's highly important, right? We want that customer, that repeat customer, to come back and to keep coming back more often. All right, it's a simple click of, and I keep using Trax. They're a great partner of ours, and obviously I used to work for them, so I know the product. But a quick right click, make recommended service. Now it's in your shop management system. Now your CRM can come in, pick that up, and send those reminders out. The second thing is work on your exit scheduling. you know Hopefully, you guys have, maybe taken a path out of what, like, the dentist or your primary doctor does, right? I go to the dentist, and before I even have to pay, I'm being pinged for my next 6-month appointment. And oh, by the way, there's like one time available from 6 months from now, and if it doesn't work with your schedule, then too bad, you're going to get shifted down the road. So, customers don't always do everything we tell them they need to do. Even when we're doing it in a full disclosure 300% rule, we're following it. Not everybody's going to say yes. It's just the reality of the business we live in. So um, think about that. Think about how you could start to work on that exit scheduling. When you're prioritizing that estimate and you're talking safety needs, we need to be looking at the most important safety issue and then kind of moving down the chain, right? So maybe they did the first two important things, but 3 and 4 they didn't do. So have that conversation with them, during that invoicing period, step 10, and focus on, hey, look, I have my shop management system here. It tells me, based off the miles that you've drove because you've been a repeat customer, we're going to need you back in for the, number 2 and number 3, or number 3 and number 4, whatever those services are, within the next 60 days. So can I get you on the calendar for that? You'll be surprised how many yeses you will get to that. And again, once you condition your customers, that may seem like a bad thing, but once you condition your customers, and set the parameters and that they follow how you want them to follow, you'll start to see more success as well. And then reoccurring clients. All right, so you have Mrs. Jones. She comes in 2, 3, 4 times a year to get her oil change, and you're doing the DVI, right? Think about this: before dispatching the job, how about we review previous services performed and recommendations with the client? What a novel idea, right? So while you're in there and you're building that ticket, again, your shop management systems, if your CRM didn't pick it up, or maybe it did, but they just didn't read the email, hopefully you should have an alert set that tells you previous recommendations were due on this vehicle. Okay, when you put their last name in, click on that, see what they are. And I know, Mrs. Jones, you're a good client. Oh, hey, last time you were in here, you needed brakes, and we recommended tires. It looks like your last visit was about 60 days. Based off of our inspection, we really need to perform those services today. Okay, again, you're setting them up for the experience that you want as a shop and they want as a client. All right, and then, like I've said, 10 times already, always focus this on what they came in for first, and then talk about any safety needs previously recommended, and then any factory scheduled maintenance that is due based off of the mileage of their vehicle. All right. We all hopefully have maintenance intervals through Mitchell, through all data, whatever it is. Um, Goes back to being prepared, being the professional, being organized. These are the things that if we follow these processes, we're going to see higher sales and higher profits through the service advisor, through the service counter. All right, so we're at about 50 minutes. I always do my best to try to stay on time, on schedule. So we're getting ready just to wrap up here. So some key takeaways from tonight's webinar. And again, know that you know this could potentially be a 3.5 hour webinar, really, when we start digging in. But we just want to try to hit the highlights and give you guys enough information, and hopefully you take one or two things that you can fix in your business and make yourself more successful. That's really the goal. That 100% is the goal. So some key takeaways. Implementing your SOPs 100% will help your business have predictable end results and results that can be repeated again and again. All right. SOPs will set you free. That's something that Dave Justice, our president, says all the time and really kind of drills in with his clients. SOPs will set you free. Second thing, make sure we're using full disclosure and we're using our 300% rule with the DVI. Um, you know, if you take anything out of this, start implementing the 300% rule with your DVI. And find me, on LinkedIn or Facebook or email or text me and let me know how, your results turned out. Because we see the statistics with our clients. I mean, it's anywhere from 25 to 40% increase in their average repair order once a DVI is implemented, but it's implemented properly, right? Got to have everybody on the same page. If one guy's doing it one way and the other guy's kind of half, then you're not going to see those results. Third thing, customers need to understand the why it makes sense to fix their car. All right. Explaining to them why it matters is very important. And hopefully it kind of gave you a little bit of maybe some tips on how to customize that presentation and how to build rapport so that these conversations are easier to have. And then lastly, the SMS, again, in my opinion, is the most powerful tool in the shop. We have to make sure it's set up correctly and drive our profits through it. All right. So those are the four takeaways. Just like I did last time, if you were on, we do offer at Repair Shop It Tomorrow individual coaching programs, coaching and marketing programs. You can see them here on the screen. If there's anything that you saw tonight that you didn't understand or that you want to find more information about, please feel free to get a hold of us. These webinars we're going to continue to do. Our goal is to provide knowledge to the industry because we believe that a high tide rises all boats, and we want everybody in the industry to be professional and to be making money and to run successful businesses. Let's quit thinking of ourselves as we're just shop owners. You're not shop owners, you're business owners. All right. So let's run a professional business and let's be productive and let's make money while we're doing it. But again, we do work with a lot of clients. Like I said, we help set up processes. We help implement those processes. And then of course we coach you on an ongoing basis to help make you sure you're achieving those results. All right. So we have two programs, a silver and a diamond. Our silver program is $11.97 per month. There is a 12-month commitment. Our diamond is $14.97 per month with a 12-month commitment. We're coming up on our time. And again, this webinar isn't supposed to be a sales webinar. This is for knowledge for you and for your employees. So if any of this information you want to learn more about, here's how you can get a hold of me. Again, I'm the national sales manager for Repair Shop Tomorrow. Um, People are, like, wow, you put your cell phone out there, really? Do you get calls at 12 o'clock in the morning? I said, look, I'd be happy to get calls at 12 o'clock in the morning if it's the ability to help somebody out with their business. Um, but in all seriousness, thank you guys for your time. Um, if anybody is, in the southeast part of the country or the east, side of the country, um, prayers with you. Hopefully, you're surviving the nasty weather. We have some clients down in Florida, and we know it's getting kind of bad down there. So our thoughts and prayers are with anybody uh, that's experiencing that. And then last thing is, I'll just mention this weekend I will actually be in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the ASTE show. It's one of the largest shows in the southeast division or southeast part of the country. Um, I'll be alongside Napa Auto Care and Napa Tracks. I'll be there from Thursday to Sunday. If you happen to be there, please come in, introduce yourself, and let's talk a little bit about what we can possibly do to help unlock your shop's full potential. So, thanks again, everybody, for being here. Like I said, this webinar will be available to you all via we've recorded it, so we'll send it out maybe later next week, and then